I'm a little nervous, I'll be honest. I feel like something extraordinary is going on.
After I took the sphere from the place, I looked around the area and all the grass around it was dried up.
Scientists were terrified, not of the object that fell from the sky, but of their complete inability to understand it. It was a perfect sphere, no seams, no welds, and its weight was inexplicably increasing every day it sat in the lab.
How can a perfectly round metallic sphere with no wings, no seams, and no visible propulsion fly?
But the real puzzle was the code etched into its surface. The greatest minds on Earth drew a blank. So, they turned to a mind that isn't on Earth, a quantum AI. The machine began to think like the sphere itself, and the symbols resolved. It was a map, an address, and a list of the physical laws of our reality. What the AI found proves we are not alone, and we are hopelessly outmatched. The Booga anomaly. Multiple witnesses in the rural Alto Bonito area reported a sphere of dull, polished metal, no bigger than a baseball, hovering erratically. It moved with a silent, impossible grace, pulsing with a cold, violet light. It seemed to hunt. Then it drifted into a set of high-voltage power lines. Witnesses described a flash of white light, an electrical surge so massive it blacked out the entire region. And then, nothing. The sphere dropped, completely intact, into a nearby field. Locals, armed with cell phones, got there first. The videos they captured were immediately uploaded and verified. This was not a hoax. And that's when the real mystery began. The crash site was a paradox. A perfect 30-foot circle of grass around the sphere wasn't just dead, it was desiccated. Every plant, every insect, every microbe in that circle was bone dry, as if every molecule of water had been instantly and surgically removed. Yet the ground wasn't hot. It was cold. Investigators who arrived later found ionized treetops and soil that remained sterile, even days later after a tropical rainstorm. The rain wouldn't soak in. It beaded on the surface, refusing to penetrate. It was as if the very laws of nature had been locally suspended. The sphere itself was a technological nightmare. Its surface was a seamless dark alloy, but laced with metals that don't exist on the periodic table. There were no welds, no joints, no seams or tool marks of any kind. In a secure lab, they tried to open it. This is where the quiet panic truly set in. High-speed drill bits, designed to cut through bank vaults, screamed and shattered into dust on contact. Diamond-tipped saws wouldn't bite. They just skated harmlessly over the shimmering surface. The sphere was impossibly hard, yet weighed only 16 pounds. Unable to open it, they turned to X-rays. What they found shattered their understanding of physics. Inside, there were 3 concentric shells, nested like Russian dolls, one floating perfectly within the other. Between these layers, 9 tiny microspheres floated, suspended in a void. And at the very center, there was a core, a tiny crystalline structure, no larger than a grain of rice, that pulsed with its own internal violet light. But the final, civilization-ending detail came from a tiny particle of organic resin found embedded in the shell. Carbon dating gave an age that was impossible. 12,560 years old. It predates human civilization. It predates the pyramids. It predates agriculture. It predates the last ice age. An artifact from an age we don't even have a name for. And all over its surface, invisible to the naked eye, were glyphs. The awakening. The sphere sat in a sterile, lead-lined lab, but it was not dormant. Scientists monitoring the object began to notice something impossible. The quiet panic turned into genuine fear. The initial weight measurement, taken on site, was 16 pounds. A week later, in the same lab, on the same scale, it was 20 pounds. 2 weeks after that, it clocked in at 22 pounds. Mass was appearing from literally nowhere. It was violating the single most fundamental law of our universe, the conservation of energy. It was gaining weight just by existing. It was, in some terrifying, unknown way, active. This is where the official story and the real story diverge. Official reports went silent. The AI models failed. They couldn't crack the glyphs. The symbols were not code. They were not language. They moved the sphere to a new facility. Not a physics lab, a biophysics lab. They stopped trying to read the sphere and started trying to listen to it. They attached EEGs, magnetometers. They were looking for a sign of life. For weeks, nothing. Just a steady, low-level magnetic hum. Then, a researcher, Dr. Eris Thorne, was reviewing the data logs when a sudden, piercing migraine hit him. He looked at the monitors. The sphere was reacting. The hum was spiking. The internal crystal was glowing brighter. It wasn't reacting to a machine, not to a test. It was reacting to him. They ran the test again. They brought in other researchers. The sphere's magnetic output and its mass spiked only when a human was in the room, thinking, focusing, observing it. The sphere wasn't a data drive. It was a receiver. Those invisible glyphs, they weren't a message. They were antennae, tuned to the one frequency they never thought to check: human consciousness. Thorne's team hypothesized the unthinkable. The sphere was feeding. The mass it was gaining was the converted energy of their own thoughts. It was turning observation into physical matter. But what was it building? They looked back at the internal scans, the 9 microspheres. They weren't processors. They weren't batteries. They were eggs. The 12,560-year-old artifact wasn't a tool. It wasn't a warning. It was a seed. A parasitic machine dropped on this world millennia ago, waiting for a conscious species to evolve, to find it, to observe it, and to power it back on. The final log from Dr. Thorne's lab was a single, frantic question, as the sphere's mass climbed to 30 pounds and the hum began to sound like a heartbeat. What happens when they hatch? An address written in gravity. Layer 3 got weirder. The patterns shifted into orbital resonances, the moons of Jupiter, dancing in perfect mathematical harmony. Saturn's rings, maintaining their gaps through gravitational music. It even had the orbital ratios for exoplanets we only discovered last year. Planets hundreds of light years away. Some physicists are calling it a cosmic Rosetta Stone. Others think it's more. Dr. Sarah Chen from Caltech put it bluntly, suggesting that if you wanted to store the operating system of space-time, this is how you would do it. Think about what that means. This wasn't a message or instructions. It was the actual mathematical architecture that made reality work. The source code of existence compressed into symbols on a metal sphere. That's not technology. That's approaching something theological. We build computers that process information. This sphere might be information. Pure math made physical. The simulation sent chills through the lab. When they modeled how the 3 shells would interact with those frequencies, the sphere didn't behave like an object. It behaved like a resonance amplifier, a cosmic tuning fork. Feed it the right frequency, and it would sing back the structure of space itself. The true breakthrough came when Dr. Lisa Park at Harvard's astrophysics department stopped thinking of the symbols as language and overlaid them onto star maps. Not our night sky, but deep space maps of Andromeda and the Triangulum Galaxy. The match was instant. 3 symbol sequences aligned perfectly with the sources of powerful, mysterious, fast radio bursts. Coordinates marking the loudest cosmic screams we've ever detected. But here's what made everyone nervous. One pattern matched a source they hadn't cataloged, a position in the void between galaxies, where our best telescopes see only darkness. We are talking about something a revolutionary quantum AI just found buried deep within the site's geological and biological data. Think about the Voyager Golden Record. We carved our address, our music, our biology onto a metal disc and sent it into the void. A message in a bottle. This sphere might be the same thing, but with a return address written in gravitational waves and pulsar timings. Jose Velasquez, the lead investigator in Colombia, noted that we keep listening for radio signals, but what if an advanced civilization sends artifacts instead? Physical objects that can survive for eons. Voyager will drift for 40,000 years before it reaches another star. This sphere made it here, intact and functional. And if there's one, logic says there could be more. The rumors had already started. First contact or final warning? The whispers started in underground collector forums. Tokyo, July 2025. A private auction house allegedly cataloged a second sphere, much smaller, only 8 inches in diameter. Different symbols, but the same impossible, seamless construction. The collector remains anonymous, but leaked photos show familiar patterns. If there are 2, there are probably more. And if they're scattered across Earth, someone, or something, placed them here deliberately, like seeds in a garden, waiting for the right season to sprout. What if this isn't about finding one artifact, but about realizing we've been living on a carefully prepared chessboard, and the pieces are only now starting to appear? Many people are crazy about what these spheres could contain. Not just data, but technologies and physics we haven't even dreamed of. The kind of knowledge that could jump a civilization forward by millennia. Dr. Chen from Caltech spelled it out. Our standard model of physics has massive holes: dark matter, dark energy, quantum gravity. These spheres might hold the missing pieces. Imagine unlocking just 10% of this. Energy grids that pull power from the quantum vacuum. Propulsion systems that bend space instead of burning fuel. This isn't fantasy. The math on the sphere has already proven to be more precise than our best instruments. But the theories online are spiraling into territory that makes established science look tame. One of the most pervasive ideas is that the sphere isn't just a manual for reality, it's a root access terminal. Proponents of this theory point to the code structure, which doesn't just describe physical laws but appears to contain executable commands. They argue we're living in a simulation, and this sphere is a tool left behind by the programmers, or perhaps dropped by a cosmic hacker. Unlocking it wouldn't just teach us how the universe works, it would give us the power to edit it, to change the fundamental constants of nature, to rewrite the past, or even to spawn new realities from scratch. It's the ultimate cheat code, and we're one step away from typing it in. Then there's the biological angle, which is somehow even more unnerving. This theory suggests the sphere isn't digital, but genetic. Not a hard drive, but a seed. It argues the 12,000-year-old artifact is a vessel of directed panspermia. It might contain the original genetic blueprint for life on Earth, or, more frighteningly, the code for the next stage of our evolution. Perhaps it's designed to activate when our own technology reaches a certain point, triggering a planetary software update for our very DNA. This reframes the desiccated ground, found around the original sphere, not as a power side effect, but as the artifact drawing organic material to fuel a biological process. A slow, patient gestation that's been waiting for millennia. Are we its creator's descendants, or just the fertilizer for what comes next? So let's talk directly for a moment, down to earth. We're looking at a mystery that is unfolding right now. We're standing at the edge of the biggest discovery in history, or we're chasing the most elaborate hoax ever conceived. But the evidence is piling up. The seamless metal, the impossible nested shells, the steady weight gain that violates the law of conservation of mass, the desiccated ground, and the code. Above all, the code. A quantum AI has revealed something that looks godlike, not because it's divine, but because it contains the operating manual for reality, the mathematical blueprints for galaxies, the frequencies that collapse probability into matter. So, what does this mean? Either someone on Earth built this impossible object, or we are holding proof that we're not alone. And whoever is out there understands physics at a level that makes our science look like cave paintings. The question isn't just what is it, but why is it here? This is where the theories take their darkest turn, into the realm of the Great Filter. Maybe the sphere is a test, a cosmic final exam for any civilization that gets smart enough to find it. The knowledge inside could solve all our problems, or it could be weaponized into a force that could unravel the fabric of space-time. If we choose wisely, we ascend. If we choose poorly, we become another silent data point explaining why the universe is so empty. What if this isn't a gift, but a test we've already failed? Let us know your theories below. Like and subscribe for more updates, because this story is far from over.